The blog has, for me, has always been an opportunity for me to just empty a bit of what's going on in my head. And it's artistic, but usually it has a smattering of politics. Well, it doesn't have a smattering of politics, it's usually pretty political, really. I think as a company we are, again, sitting in that political arena. It's become almost like a myth that I said once, I want to put the red back in Red Ladder. I didn't actually, I don't think I even said that. I think it's probably just become a myth. I think I actually said I want to put the blue back in Red Ladder and turn it into a Tory sort of voice for right-wing politics, and I've completely failed. Our politics are not about a state that say this is how you should behave. Our politics are about us, the people. I'm a big fan of Stuart Lee. Okay, I think he's a really clever comedian. If you're watching this, Stuart Lee, you're not anyway. But if you were, I'm going to tell one of your jokes because I saw it on BBC iPlayer last night. And forgive me, don't know what the copyright situation is for jokes, but the reason I want to tell you this joke is because I think it's a bit like Red Ladder's work. I think Red Ladder's work, very often, the issues are under the surface, under the story or beyond. So hopefully the plays begin a conversation. So if you're thinking, well, where's the connection between Ugly and Sex and Docs and Rock and Roll? They're two completely different plays. The connection is that they are reaching out to ordinary people. The audiences who, like you and me, are working class. Oh, people are going to go, I'm not working class. Well, if you have to work and you pay your bills, you're working class, all right? Because you have to work. Stuart Lee's joke. He was talking in the programme I watched last night on iPlayer about living in London and the pressures of living in London. And he was saying that one of the things about living in London is once you've got kids, you've got that real problem about how do I get them into the good school? I've got to give my kids the education's their big opportunity in life, and and if they go to the wrong school in London, it could be a disaster. So it's a real pressure. So he's saying, he had a couple of friends who they really wanted their daughter to go to the school that got all the 5-star Ofsted awards and all the kids wore blazers and all that. But she'd been diagnosed with dyslexia. So, oh dear, what's going to happen? There was no way they were going to get their daughter into the good school. So they sold up for their daughter. They sold their house. They moved out of London. They moved to the country, and for the sake of her education and her future, they took her to the local school out in the countryside, and she got an education, and she left a racist who could spell. I like that joke. I don't think I told it anywhere near as well as Stuart Lee. But the thing about Stuart Lee is that his work is, I think, it catches you out. You're thinking sometimes, is he for real? I mean, that kind of humour is really dangerous, and that's what I like about it, and that's what I think Red Ladder's work should be. It should be a bit dangerous. You're not the issues aren't there. Obviously, there's a story, and you're taken into a world, and hopefully you talk about it. So we're trying to make work which appeals to young people, but also speaks to all of us. What are we doing at the moment? Well, at the moment we're in the middle of approaching festival season. The Emerge Festival is coming on at the Carriage Works. The Carriage Works Theatre, brilliantly, is trying to bridge the gap between the amateur theatre sector, where the Guild use they use those stages, and contemporary theatre. And I think the two are blending together very nicely. And Emerge is for new theatre makers across West Yorkshire. And we try to get involved in Emerge every year. And this year we're platforming 4 extracts of 4 new pieces of writing. And we're not commissioning any of those pieces of writing. We're putting them out so that new writers, local writers, get an opportunity to have their work, an extract of their work, put on a stage. And hopefully somebody out there might say, oh, I'd like to produce that, let's develop that. Dave Barlow, a Beeston, I think he lives in Beeston. Forgive me, Dave, if you live in Headingley. But anyway, I think you live in Beeston, which is cool. Writer, Lorna Poosty, who I think actually lives towards Wetherby. So there you go, Beeston to Wetherby. Couldn't be more of a demographic than that. She might actually live in Hyde Park, I have no idea. And Elise Roder, who's of Norwegian sort of extraction-ish, and I think she lives in Huddersfield. And Ben Tago, who is a writer we've worked with before, and is part of our Red Writers group. So he's the more experienced of the four writers. Ben is Scottish, mixed race, Ghanaian. So these four extracts are going to be of totally new plays that haven't been produced yet. So please come along. And the idea is that you get an opportunity to say what you like or don't like about those plays. Really helpful if you say what you don't like, because the writers can disagree with you and then we get an interesting debate. And then we're doing Garforth Festival. Garforth Festival is amazing. They've got Billy Bragg headlining. They've got Hugh Masekela, Salsa Celtica, Garforth Jazz Band, blah, 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 Phoenix Dance Theatre and Red Ladder Theatre Company. We are doing global justice work with students from Garforth Academy. I'm not sure how much they kind of necessarily come into touch with global issues. They can shoot me down in flames for that, but you know, I think we're there. We're doing a bit of work to say, look, this is a planet that we live on, and we share it with a number of other workers across the world. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing work there, and they are going to make a small piece of theatre, which is about some of the issues that we've been discussing, looking at corporations and the way they treat their workers. Big names like Nike and Apple Mac and Coca-Cola. And so we've had one session, it's been really exciting. We've got 2 more sessions to go, and they're going to make short pieces of work on the 5th of July, and I'm sure you can get down there. So not only are you going to see Billy Bragg, but you can see some interesting work by young theatre makers as well. Transform is happening next door but one in West Yorkshire Playhouse. West Yorkshire Playhouse is being transformed, so come along and see how. And one of the guests there is a theatre activist from India called Sanjay Kumar, and his company, they're called Pandis. They have a long connection actually with Red Ladder, and I'm going to meet him, which is going to be really exciting because we can plan the non-violent revolution that will take over the world by 2012. We're going to plan that over a cup of coffee. I've just been to a festival. The Northern Green Gathering, where I got involved in a discussion about Radical Roots. Radical Roots is a network of workers' cooperatives and housing cooperatives, and my partner and I are looking to set up a housing co-op for families. And Radical Roots help co-ops to form and help them to buy properties and take them over. The understanding is that those properties aren't just homes, they're also centres for radical social change. It's exciting. It's exciting to be part of that community because I think there are big changes coming. I think there's going to be a quantum leap that's going to take place in the human species within the next few years, and those of us that are tuned into it will survive, and those that you aren't will not.